My birth. When I was born, my parents had nothing but the clothes on their back and a briefcase full of documents, which included my father's Hochdiplom in architecture from the University of Danzig. The night I was born, my mother almost died. A dry birth, a breech birth, a negligent doctor, a two-thin blanket, all that was allowed a foreigner in Munich in late October in 1945. That briefcase also contained penicillin that my father got in a trade. The medicine saved my mother's life. Later she'd say, if it had been Russians, they would have stolen it. Lager Princess. When I was 3, my mother made me a dress from a pair of men's long johns. My father traded Unra cigarettes with a German farm wife for the johns. My mother unraveled the cotton yard, dyed it sky blue, and knitted a dress with little holes in a fancy pattern. I would stick my fingers in the holes, much to her chagrin. I wore white hose and white shoes with this dress, and in my hair was a white satin ribbon. In December, St. Nicholas brought me a dress of yellow and apple green silk. The yoke was embroidered Hungarian style with flowers of many colors. My uncle brought me a pair of red shoes to go with this dress. I was the Lager Princess. Okay. Romko. I always liked boys, and he was the first one I liked. He drove a car he would not let me ride in, showed me the fig, which is what we call it when you put your thumb between two fingers. His name was Roman, but everyone called him Romko. Going home 1. My mother told me that we were not home, that our home had been taken over by bad people and it was not really free. Another war had to be fought and won so that our country could really be free. And when it was free, we could then go home. I kept waiting for World War III to start. Singing. How it happened, I don't know. Someone spoke to someone else who said that I knew all these songs, so I was asked to sing in my sadochok. I was a little nervous, sat up straight in my chair and sang. The song had a range of 1.5 octaves, which is a lot to cover when you're barely 3. The song talked about a woman beaten by her drunken husband. She said she would go beyond the Danube and leave all her little children. I felt sorry for the beaten woman and so sorry for the little children. Professional photographer. Pan Shalabauka hid his head in the folds of black cloth, put his thumb on the trigger of the little cable. The camera had its nose accordioned out, and inside its belly was the prepared plate. The photographs were beautiful. My mother and I bent over the well in the graveyard next door. My father and I walking on a path near the tombs. Pan Shalabalka didn't come when we left for Bremen. He didn't pass the medical exam. Coming to America. We came to America on a ship that sailed from Bremen. I played on the deck with a little girl who taught me how to have red fingernails by coloring them with red pencils. We came to America on a ship where children and women slept in one place, men in another, on double-decker bunks. I liked to look at the sea through the round windows. A nasty woman complained. "Wait," said my mother, "wait. Wait till I put my dress on. She had a fight with that woman, defending my right to look out the porthole at the sea while coming to America. We came to America. We landed in Boston. I saw the colored water swirling round the ship and thought, I love this country. It has such beautiful water. We came to America, got an apartment in St. Paul, got a milk called eggnog. I tasted it and thought, I love this country. It has such wonderful milk. Pani Marusia. I was 4 and not yet in school. She was old, a teacher by profession. She taught me how to read and write Ukrainian. Sometimes she'd come over to our house. Sometimes we would go to where she lived. She had a small apartment with 2 rooms. The big one had a table and some chairs, an iron bed for her and Pan Mikhais. The small one was the kitchen where I sat and did my lessons and listened to her talk. Colors make us feel things, she'd say. Rose is good for lungs and green for eyes. We live a lot of times, she'd say. And if we know our letters and how they're put together, we can read what someone wrote, she'd say. It wasn't easy when I started school and was confronted with a spelling test. I didn't know the meaning of the words to spell. Wrote da for the and knew that it was wrong. I got a D, the only one I got in all my many years of school. Going home, 2. I don't want to go to school anymore, I told my mother, where nobody will even hold my hand when we stand in line. I'll wait till we go home to go to school. Zeleny schody. I had a dress of rose red lace tied up with ribbons of green velvet. I wore it to church on Sunday mornings. We walked from church over Wabasha Bridge and climbed the high and boxy green stairs to the top of the bluff and walked on home. We called the stairs Zeleny schody. The tort. The 3 of us, father and mother and I, are baking a tort. What's the occasion? Company's coming to our house on Sunday afternoon. I get to whisk the egg whites till they're stiff. My father beats the sugar with the yolks. My mother is the boss of the endeavor. She pronounces ratios. 8 large eggs, 8 heaping tablespoons of sugar, a bit of breadcrumbs, a tiny bit of flour. Flavors, walnut, poppy seed or almond, creams of coffee, orange, chocolate or lemon. She mixes the batter and bakes the tort. Once in a while, the tort takes a fall in the oven, causing much worry and angst. What to do? How to fix it? We tried to hide the fall with icing and creams. It was at another time and place that I was told by the elderly baker of torts, it's simple. Just don't grease the sides of the pan. 16 East Morton Street. 2 years after arriving in St. Paul with all their possessions in 2 suitcases, one of them my tiny one, my first bed as a DP infant, now holding only my doll Dripce and my bear Misha, my parents bought for $6,000 a house at 16 East Morton Street.